be TV or not to be TV. This is our second edition of Backyard Medicine. On the first one, we were herb walking. This time, we're garden walking with Lecia McMullen in Redondo Beach, California. Lecia is a very avid gardener of herbs, vegetables, flowers. We're going to walk her garden with her today and be instructed in all the historical uses, medicinal uses, and the fun ways to use herbs and flowers in your home. So, let's go.
If I could follow my mind on a journey, where would it take me? Where would I go? And how would I know where would lead me? If I could follow my heart where it leads me, would I learn things that I never do? Some dreams come true.
Here we are in Lecia McMullen's oasis, right in the middle of Redondo Beach. Thank you so much for inviting us to the garden.
You're welcome. It's good to have you here.
It's a beautiful place.
Thank you.
And it came from nothing up here, right? You
Right.
started with quite a wasteland.
Right. It was piles of weeds and trash and car parts and things that you would never expect to find in a yard.
And it's come quite a long way. In what kind of time did it take you to do this?
It was about a year before it began to take shape as a garden where we got all the weeds pulled out and
Started blooming and
yeah. And
oh,
it's been about 4 years, 3, 4 years now to work out to this point.
this was a collective venture too, wasn't it? Did you have a lot of friends helping you?
I'm always enlisting people to come and pull the trash out and help me weed and till and fertilize.
But that's a very satisfying thing, I would think,
It really
to
is.
help you bring this place to what it looks like now.
It really feels good to know that it came from so many people helping and coming together.
And as we were saying in the introduction, you have vegetables and flowers, and in this small space, you've gotten quite a lot in.
Right. I love to cram stuff in.
There's always a little more inch
Yeah.
to squeeze it into.
Exactly.
Well, we'll take a look around and you can fill us in on all the historical uses, and I know you use a lot of it in your own home.
Okay.
And everybody who's interested in doing this for themselves should probably grab their own pad of paper and pencil, which is my kudo. This is what I have the tendency to say to everyone for the show. Take your own notes and feel free to use all of the great ideas in your own life. So let's get ready for the walk. Our first stop is the evening primrose plant, and Lecia pointed out to us it's intertwined
This
here.
is it right here. It's got arms that sort of spread all over and it's grown through this rose bush.
It's going down here. I can
Yeah.
see here it is down here.
Its botanical name is Ornithera biennis, and that means it's a biennial. That's why it's biennis.
And biennial means?
It means that the plant germinates the first year and just makes a little rosette of leaves, and then the second year it flowers like this, and then it will set seed and die back.
And then the new seed will
Yeah.
come up like that.
Yeah, and this plant actually loves to set seed wherever and everywhere, and it's all over my garden because it just grows all over.
I saw it on the other side. Now, we're in a little bit of danger here with their blossoms, aren't we?
Right, because it's called the evening primrose because it closes its blossoms during the day and then it opens them again in the evening.
And being in Redondo Beach where you have this kind of fog, you're luckier in the morning time than most anybody else would be.
It will stay open during the day a lot.
That's good. Okay. And there's so many medicinal uses, historical and medicinal, and they kind of tie together a little bit because tell us about the Indians and...
Well, traditionally it was used like as an edible wild food. They would take the leaves and put them in like a salad. And
it's indigenous to North America, so...
Yeah, it's one of the few plants that started out here. The Iroquois chewed the root up and rubbed it on their muscles for sore muscles for the lacrosse players. The Shakers, who were the first people to start herb businesses in the U.S., listed it in their catalog as a demulcent and a mucilage, the root. And that meant that it helped to soothe the stomach and was very healing for the tissues of the stomach and the intestinal tract. What else is there?
Oh, there was the shakers with the simmering the root in milk.
Right.
Also.
Right, for tumors and painful swelling, they call
Right.
it.
Exactly. And now the modern day uses of it they don't really know so much about all those other
Right.
uses. Now they're using the seeds.
Right. It's been extensively studied. The seeds contain gamma-linolenic acid, which is an essential fatty acid that's hard for the body to produce sometimes, although it's essential. And this fatty acid has a multitude of uses. It helps to heal the skin when you have eczema or all kinds of skin disorders.
Right.
It's helpful for the heart and the circulatory system. It's been shown to lower blood pressure, reduce heart disease.
And for women's discomforts with PMS and that kind of thing,
Right.
which is what I use it for.
Me too.
And I've noticed that one of the things that helped with it, which was really great, was the emotional aspect, not
Right.
just the physical.
Exactly.
But it's helpful with the physical too.
Right. It helps to balance the hormones in general. So
Right.
it helps with all the aspects of PMS and menstrual problems, cramping, everything.
Right. And when my son was in the hospital, he had inflammations in the respiratory tract, and I was looking up after he got out of the hospital what would be the best way to bring him back to health. And evening primrose oil to help with the inflammation in his
Right.
bronchioles.
And it's helpful for the immune system, and it also helps to reduce swelling from arthritis. It's been studied and it's been shown to reduce arthritis, pain, and swelling.
This is a fabulous herb.
Right. And actually the seed is in these little pods right here. It's not ripe or mature yet, but when you open up the little seed pod, you get these little seeds in there.
Oh, little.
They're white right now, but they'll turn brown when they're mature.
Yeah. And then this is what they press to make
Right,
the, to make the oil. And that must take an awful lot of seeds.
Yes, but it's very prolific and it grows everywhere, so.
Yeah. So it's a beautiful herb. So in addition to all of its wonderful uses, it makes your garden beautiful.
Yeah, I love
especially
it.
at night.
Yes.
Well, let's move on to the sunflower.
Okay.
And this is quite a specimen you have up here. And I'm gonna lift him up. I hope all of the friendly ants that are on here don't mind too much, but
The bugs.
yeah.
A lot of the plants I grow, because they bring bugs and pollinating insects and birds to the yard.
Oh, he would make me happy just
Yeah.
being in here with him.
Yeah, the birds love those seeds.
And the rose. Oh,
Rose petals are a great cosmetic herb. You can simmer them in a little bit of water and then strain the petals out and use that for a toner and moisturizing.
yes. They smell gorgeous.
Yeah, I love the smell. Put
And
them in
this
your bath.
is, we have yarrow here
Yeah,
as
that's
well.
yarrow. So this is yarrow. Its botanical name is Achillea millefolium because these flowers have just, they're made up of, it's a bigger flower that's made up of many, many little tiny flowers.
Right. Rosettes.
Yeah. This was one of my very first plants.
Oh.
I've had this one for about 15 years probably, and I, for the first time, finally divided it. You cut the plant in half and just replant bits of it and it will grow more. It's very sturdy and hardy.
This is beautiful. It's
likes
very
drought.
soft
Right.
too.
It likes drought. It doesn't mind if it doesn't get watered and
Right.
neglected.
Well, that's good.
And the leaves are styptic, which means that they have tannins in them that stop bleeding. So if you chew up or grind up the leaves, you can put them on wounds or like shaving cuts,
Oh.
and it will stop
Oh,
bleeding.
that's handy.
Yeah. And it's also kind of moderating for bleeding because it's also used internally. You know, you make a tea out of the leaves, and it would bring on a delayed menstrual period. So it's a balancer for bleeding
Right.
of all kinds.
And that's the great thing about herbs that I found is that there are properties in them that can do opposite ends of the spectrum, and those properties together have that balancing
Right.
effect where it doesn't let the body go too far off in one direction.
Right. It's like it knows what your body needs and it
There's an intelligence
strikes
there.
the balance.
Right. Beautiful yarrow. Now, Lecia, this is wood betony, right?
Yeah. Or sometimes it's called betony.
Betony.
Yeah. And it's a pretty little plant. It grows a purple stalk. Later on in the summer, it will have this really pretty purple flower. And it needs to be in the sun to have that flower, but it kind of likes some shade also. It likes to be really well watered.
Nothing too intense.
Yeah.
And it has interesting historical information about it,
Yeah,
too.
there's an old Italian proverb that says, "Sell your coat and buy Bettany," which shows what a high regard they held it in. The Emperor Augustus's personal physician wrote a treatise on Bettany, and they listed some 47 maladies that it could cure.
But these days, it primarily, one of the primary uses for it is headaches, right?
Right, headaches, and as like a nervine, it helps to soothe the nervous system, which headaches are a lot of times caused by tension and nervousness.
Stress and
stress.
Yeah. Well, that's a great herb, and not one that you generally see too much in health food stores or in herb shops. It's not as well known. But
right. Although you were mentioning that it's in some of the formulas sometimes for if you get a migraine formula.
I've seen it in migraine formulas.
Yeah.
Great. Well, good old Bettany.
Yeah. This little plant that's next to me is funny. I planted this really rich, lovely soil, and it seeded itself in other places, and it doesn't really like rich, lovely soil. It prefers this hard, dry clay over here where it looks much more healthy over there.
It does. It does. And I noticed the difference in the soil, too. It's a little more moist, and this, it's probably more where it would naturally seed itself.
Right. It's a native California plant, so it prefers that dry, arid kind of soil.
Yeah. Pretty, too. Well, here we are along the, which wall is this? Is this the west facing?
The north wall.
North wall.
Yeah.
And the north wall has the most color.
Yeah. It's
Right?
very hot and sunny over here.
And so start out telling us what we have along the north wall.
We've got Queen Anne's lace. This is a really pretty white flower that attracts bees and butterflies and pollinating things.
You know, every time I see that, I want that behind my ear. I don't know what it is.
That one's a pink flower.
Oh,
Seems like
what
a
is
behind
this?
the ear kind of flower. That's a mandevilla.
Mandevilla.
Alice DuPont is its name.
Alice DuPont.
Yeah. And what else have we got? This is Verbena bonariensis.
I have some of this.
It's a very tall verbena. It's beautiful when it gets big.
There's something down here. Let's uncover what's down here.
This big evening primrose is in the way.
Oh, yeah.
And this is a blanket flower, it's called, or Gaillardia is its other name. And this one's called Goblin. It's a little small version of blanket flower.
And where does blanket flower, where's that name from?
Well, these petals, they look like an Indian blanket. It's kind of a prairie kind of flower.
Uh-huh.
And usually it's a very big plant. This is a small version.
And we have much more evening primrose.
Big, tall evening
Wow.
primrose.
And then over here, these are great.
Yeah, these are a couple of different kinds of everlasting flowers, they're called, because they will dry, and they're very papery, and
Oh, you can hear them.
yeah, you can just cut them when they're at this stage, and use them in bouquets or wreaths and things like that.
This one's very pretty. I like all the various stages of unfolding with this. They're just little stars, and then they're poops. They're great.
And we have, these are zinnias. These are old-fashioned kind of garden plant that attracts bees and flower insects also. And then this great big thing is called a rudbeckia.
Rudbeckia.
Yeah, it's another kind of prairie. A lot of these prairie kind of flowers look like this with this daisy shape and a big bulby
big
kind
bulb.
of seed head.
A little oddling right here.
Yeah. And behind that,
We have,
comfrey.
yay, comfrey.
And comfrey is a plant, if you plant it, you got to make sure you want it there because it will never be eradicated once it's planted.
And does it like the full sun?
Yeah,
Constant
it likes
full sun?
And it's got these great big
Broad
beautiful
leaves.
And it will flower. This is an old flowering stalk right here. It has really pretty little pink flowers, little bell-shaped flowers.
Now this is one of those plants with great medicinal uses.
Right. It's been called knit bone and bone set because you would take the leaves and smash them up and make a poultice and put it externally on the body, and it can heal bones and tissue and cartilage.
And absorb right through the skin.
Through the skin. Yeah, it's amazing. So it was used in salves and ointments and poultices.
Right.
It's gotten sort of controversial in the last couple of years because they did a study in 1978 where they took an isolated constituent from the plant and they fed it to rats in huge dosages, and it caused cancer.
And somehow they thought that proved something about the whole plant,
right,
instead of just the constituent.
Right. And it has been shown people who eat the leaves exclusively and excessively for long periods of time can develop something called veno-occlusive disease, but it's very uncommon, and it would be someone who was using it excessively. And since that time, they've done a study where they took the whole plant and they found that it doesn't cause cancer if you're using the whole plant.
So then again, it's the balance of all the different constituents in the plant.
Right. Yeah. And the root is very rich in a substance called allantoin, which is very healing for the skin, and it's used in facial creams and healing ointments and things also.
Yeah. I've used comfrey many times. It's a wonderful herb.
And you can use the small new leaves in salads and
is it bitter at all, or?
It's just very slightly bitter. The new leaves are usually with those kind of plants that are bitter when the leaves are older and more mature. If they're fresh and young, they're not bitter.
Right.
And when it gets older, it has these little hairs all over it too that are kind of prickly, which it doesn't have when it's fresh.
So you definitely want to eat the non-prickly leaves in your salad.
And it's really funny because if you ever try and get rid of it, it can propagate itself from just little minute pieces of root. So if you try and dig it up and you leave any bit of root, it will grow again, and it just, you could never get rid of it.
Right, and it looks like you can't.
No, but I love it.
And more of the carpet flower. Blanket flower.
Blanket flower.
Well, it's easy to make that mistake. Carpets and blankets.
The more sunflowers.
Oh, yes. Now, this is this a sunflower type
it's called
as well?
Mexican sunflower. It's another little sunflower.
And then this is
the regular
Lecia sunflower. Right. Well, we've hit the end of the north wall. Is there anything else?
Well, this is an interesting plant too. This is called Lecia. This is also called butterfly little bush, and it has a wonderful scent. Really. Oh, yeah. And I plant a lot of my plants for butterflies.
And bees. And they're very happy here.
Yeah. The peppers do great back here because they love the heat. They just totally got ripe the last I love those. I take them and I roast them in the oven. Then you peel off the skin. And then you...
The tomato or the pepper?
The pepper.
Oh, uh-huh.
And then you put them in a little bit of olive oil and balsamic vinegar with herbs and garlic. And best ever.
God.
It's so good.
That is so neat, the way it's half yellow and half green over there. It's ripening stage.
The colored ones are just ripe green ones. Like, all the green ones will turn into yellow ones or red ones or orange. You know, these things are so expensive.
I know.
They're like, $4.99.
Exactly. A pound. It's ridiculous.
This one's called roly-poly. It's this little round one. It's so cute. There's none on here right now.
It's not late enough? Oh,
you
got a big old...
Is there one? Oh, there's one. Oh my God.
Look at that. Boy, that's beautiful.
It's a French melon. Chanterelle, that's what it is.
Chanterelle.
Yeah. And it will have
something you'd like to name your daughter.
Yeah, it's like a perfume smell, like this beautiful.
The flesh is perfumey?
Oh yeah, it's just like the most delicious melon you ever had.
You could get a stand out on the side of the room.
This is a sauce tomato, and these are beans.
Oh, look at that.
Green.
So if I were to snap this off here.
I just come out and eat stuff off of the vines usually.
Oh my. Oh, that's tasty. Cameraman, would you like a bite of this bean?
This is an interesting kind of strawberry plant. It's called alpine strawberry, or it's also called Frey de Bois.
Frey de Bois.
And it's got a really tangy, delicious flavor. You can try that.
Ooh. Do they grow any bigger than this?
No, that's the biggest they get.
This is
They're just like
a
just get
teeny
few.
little strawberry.
And
Watch this. Oh.
Isn't that good? It has a different taste than a regular strawberry.
The flesh is so soft. Oh,
I have to try one too.
that is fabulous.
I love them.
That'd be great on ice cream.
Yeah, or it's good on cereal. And this is a kind of lavender. This is a French lavender called Dente. Oh, I can't remember how to say it. It's Dentante, I think. Dentante. And it's got
Can I
these,
still smell this? Is this going to be fragrant at
the
all?
reason they do that, these leaves are
They're just like
kind of toothed, and it's the dent.
Oh.
Like dentin. And it's kind of unhappy with me because I transplanted it and it didn't like being moved. But
Oh,
it's got
my.
some new green leaves coming back, and it's got the cute little flowers. And lavender is antibacterial.
Right.
When you put it on, sometimes they make essential oil out of the flowers.
And they're mixing it with tea tree oil now too,
Yeah,
right? Which
yeah.
is also antibacterial.
Yeah.
It's a good combination.
Yeah. These are 3 different kinds of lavender. This is the French one, and then this is another one called, sometimes called rabbit ears is the common name, or Spanish lavender,
Uh-huh.
and it's just finished blooming. And this is a Dutch lavender right here.
This is pretty. This grayish green color's gorgeous. Oh, the scent is really great.
And it usually takes about a year to get established. Next year this will flower and be a lot bigger.
Okay, let me ask you something. Do you talk to your plants?
You know, I feel like I communicate with them on a non-verbal level a lot of the time. I just send out a lot of love to them, and I care for them. You know, I'm constantly watering and tending
And
them.
they
But
know
I don't,
that.
Yeah, I don't really talk to them too much.
I don't mean to get terribly esoteric, but I mean, The Secret Life of Plants, when, you know, that was a fascinating film, and they talk about how they can feel when a person comes into the room who's been very friendly with them, and they can feel when a person's come into the room who's been very harmful to them.
Right.
And I'm just wondering, he's pissed at you because you transplanted him, and yet he seems to be forgiving you, or she. I shouldn't necessarily give it a gender. It. But there's these new little growth here, so he can't be too terribly mad.
Yeah. And then this right here, this is a kind of scented geranium. You can touch that leaf and pick one off there, and it's just this lovely velvety
my
kind
gosh.
And the smell is just fantastic. It's a mint geranium.
Oh.
And that's another one. Sometimes you can take those leaves and you can line a cake pan with it and bake a cake in it, and it will just give this delicious scented flavor to the.
Wow.
Especially, it's really good with pound cake, buttery, delicious pound cake.
I wish you could smell. In TV land, the smell is fabulous. And it's got these fine little hair. It makes me think of lamb's ears.
Yeah. Oh, it's just, I love the feel of it.
I mean, it doesn't feel like a prickly kind of hair at all.
It's soft and velvety.
This is, lay me out in this. When I go, I think I'd like to just look like a nice topping for a salad on top of these leaves. That's fabulous.
Then next to them is a rather stinky plant called society garlic.
Society garlic.
And even though it's called society garlic, it still smells like garlic. But these flowers, when they're fresh and blooming, they have a very light garlic taste, and they're really good sprinkled over a salad, and they just give a very delicate garlic flavor to
So
a
it's
salad.
not that real pungent that you get from the bulb.
No, definitely not.
And you throw the flour in the salads. What do you do? Anything with the greens as well?
I've never used them, but I'm sure you could. They have very smell like garlic. Also, I'm sure
They
you
do?
could chop them up and
Let me try.
put them in.
If you can't eat your way through a garden, you're not doing it right. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's nice. It's not too overpowering, but that's a nice addition.
Yeah. This book is Herbal Renaissance, and it's by Stephen Foster. It's one of my favorite new books. He has a lot of real current information on recently done scientific studies and clinical trials that have been done on herbs, but he also talks about the herbs from a down-to-earth sort of perspective. He calls them your friendly neighborhood herbs, and he sort of specializes in discussing herbs that are more like indigenous and growing in North America, and it's a great book for us in America because it covers herbs that we're familiar with. This is The New Age Herbalist by Richard Mabey. And it's a great book because it talks about herbs from every kind of use that you can think of. It goes into uses for medicinal purpose, and then also body care uses and things like dyeing and using them to color material, you know, cotton and materials. And it gives a more synopsis of each plant. It's not very extensive, but it gives you the nuts and bolts of it when it's talking about it. And then it also goes into the various uses that it can be used for, and it gives charts for growing, and it's kind of like the all-around herb book. It gives every aspect of the herb, from the growing to the using. This is A Modern Herbal by Mrs. Grieve, or she's also known as Ma Grieve. A lot of herbalists will say, according to Ma Grieve. And it's an old book that was originally written in 1931, and this is a reprinting. And it's just a great book. It's wonderful historical information about all the plants, and extensive background on the plant, and then also she'll give the medicinal uses, and she cites lots of different sources for each plant, so it's very extensively done for the background. And she covers lots and lots of herbs, lots of really kind of obscure herbs that you won't really find in modern books. And she gives a real folksy kind of perspective to how to use herbs.
Your yard must be a real, like, well-known restaurant for all of the birds and the bees and all of the insects of the neighborhood.
I try and entice them in.
And you're doing a great job.
Yeah.
And it's been a great show. Thank you so much for inviting us. We want to come back and see it in another season with more growing and new plants and more information.
Well, thank you. I had a great time too. It was really fun to show it to you.
Yes. So that's it for To Be TV or Not To Be TV and this edition of Backyard Medicine. Please join us next time. I was going to say I would never go so far as to say it cures ulcers. I would never ever say that. However, I had one, and it was recommended to me for that. Totally off the record, by the way. And I took it for that, and it was wonderful. I mean, I took it for a number of months, and it was completely gone, along with a good diet. So,
you know, I think there's something like,
come right out and say it.
When you're talking, now off the record again too, when you're, we are just talking like this on a TV show, we can make more claims than if we were in a store or something. You know, like when you're writing a book, you can write whatever you want.
Well, what we're doing is giving the information that's been used, and we're not telling somebody you should actually take this for a certain situation before you check with a doctor and make sure you've done all your own reading and you've taken special care to know all your own symptoms. I mean, it's a way of helping people to be more responsible about their health. So that's all we're doing.
Right.